Hello, welcome to today's Facebook Live. Today we're talking about meal prep basics. So we're truly going to keep it basic. We're not going to go get too wild and crazy today. But I think that for a lot of us, the basics are really where it's at. I think that a lot of people really overcomplicate meal prep meal prep. And so hopefully today we can help give you some ideas to sort of organize it and simplify it in your mind to make it a little more doable, I guess, something that you might be more likely to do or more willing to try to do anyway. So let's see, I got some things here in my way. All right, so I think when people think of meal prep, like I said a second ago, I think that people think of something that's going to take this really long time out of their day or out of their week, something that needs to be meticulously planned just oh so perfectly, and something that's maybe just complicated and just requires way too much effort to even bother trying. So today I just want to keep it simple. I want to give you some ideas that you can use right away, right now, and get you started. So the first thing that you're going to need when you start thinking about or planning out your meal prep are containers. So I 100% absolutely unequivocally recommend getting glass containers instead of plastic. Not only is glass just going to last you a lot longer, so you won't be buying them as often, or having to repurchase them anyway as often. And they also, honestly, eating out of plastic is something that we should be trying to limit just in our life in general anyway. Particularly heating things up in plastic is something that we should be avoiding whenever possible. So I always recommend glass containers for meal prep. They are a little bit more expensive by just maybe a few bucks, but it's worth it when you're not having to repurchase them. So when you're going to need to decide how many sections you want your container to have. So some of them are just one large hole. What am I trying to say? One large spot, I guess, one large section to put all your things in. Some of them might have two. Mine have two. I have mine here. So it does have a plastic lid, but my food doesn't really go on the lid, and I take this off when I reheat. But I have the larger section and then one smaller section here for a side. And then there's others that might have three, like they'll have this larger one and then this side one might be split like this, so it's two little ones, or even like three equal size. There's all kinds of different configurations of these containers. So you need to decide first how many sections you want to have, and then from there you can make your decisions. I also like to use glass bowls that have like the silicone lids that stick on for stuff like salads and things like that. I find that to be a little bit easier for me when this container maybe won't necessarily do it. I like the glass bowls because I can put my dressing on and then just shake it real good and mix up all the dressing. Anyway, you can get these things at like Target, at Walmart, Amazon, even like grocery stores and stuff have them these days. So you can find containers anywhere. But for sure, the biggest point I wanted to make there was definitely glass over plastic. So now you've got your containers in hand. Now you need to think about your food. So my suggestion, if you are not meal prepping at all right now, my suggestion is to pick one meal out of the day that you want to prep. Don't try doing every single thing you're going to eat for the whole entire day right off the bat. It's going to be too overwhelming, too much, and you're setting yourself up to be overwhelmed and then just give up. So pick one meal. You can pick breakfast, lunch, dinner. Maybe you even just pick your snacks. Maybe you just prep out your snacks to begin with. But so just one meal a day for start. So maybe breakfast is where you want to start. Number one, make sure you're getting a good amount of protein in your breakfast. That's one area that tends to be the downfall sometimes. I love cereal just as much as the next guy, but there's just simply not enough protein in cereal unless you're pairing it with another protein. So some examples of protein might be eggs, turkey sausage, turkey bacon. Maybe you're just using protein powder and adding it to something like oatmeal or a smoothie, things like that. Adding protein into your breakfast is going to keep you feeling fuller longer. It's going to help you hit your protein targets for the day, and it's just going to set you up to be feeling a little bit better from the get-go. So doing just a protein shake on its own, however, I don't suggest unless you're pairing it with something else, because it literally is just protein. So unless you're putting it with your eggs or whatever, your oatmeal, then that's not, I wouldn't recommend just the shake. You want to try to make sure you're getting your protein, your carbs, and your fats in at every meal. So what you could do is make a protein smoothie where you're adding lots of fruit. There's your carbs. And then maybe you even add some peanut butter or almond butter to your smoothie, or a side of pistachios, or a side of almonds or peanuts, something like that, seeds. Avocado can go in your smoothie, things like that to add the fats as well. So I do protein smoothies every day. Anybody who's ever been around me in the mornings, you've always seen me walking around with my smoothie. And I do half of a banana, a serving of frozen mixed berries, and vanilla protein powder, along with some other supplements. And I use, it varies. I probably most often use unsweetened vanilla almond milk, but I do sometimes use Fairlife milk as well if I need to bump the protein up. So what I do is I take my banana. Here's how I prep my breakfast. I cut up the half of a serving of banana. I weigh out all my stuff. And I put that on the bottom. And then I do a serving of frozen mixed berries. And I just scoop it on top. I put them in these containers, and you can kind of maybe even see that these have been frozen. I just took this out of my freezer. I put them in these containers, and I just pop all these right into my freezer. So they're good to go for the week. Depending on how many bananas I have, I usually make like 6 to 8 of these at a time. And then there's just a spot right on my freezer door where I put them. And then in the morning, all I've got to do is pour in whatever milk I use, my powders, protein powder, whatever other things I use, and then I just open this up and I just dump it right into the blender. And I'm good to go. It's done, and that's it. To prep those takes me for sure less than 10 minutes to prep those for an entire week. Super simple. Don't overcomplicate things. Keep it simple. So maybe instead of breakfast, you would rather prep lunch, or you'd rather prep dinner. So here's a few ideas that might help you. The first one is my personal favorite. I find this to be the simplest and the most easy for people, especially new to meal prepping, to do. And literally, it is just to cook too much dinner. So when you're making your normal dinner, maybe it's one of your weekend meals, or it could even be the middle of the week. It doesn't matter when you meal prep. Just double or triple the recipe, and then eat your dinner that day. And then the leftovers you can portion out into containers. So for example, if you do Taco Tuesday, we're big Taco Tuesday fans at our house. If you do Taco Tuesday, just double your taco meat. Go ahead and eat your tacos for the day. And then whatever meat you have left over, you can then portion out into your meal prep containers and eat that throughout the rest of the week. So you might be able to use that same taco meat to make burrito bowls, or taco salads, or even just more tacos or nachos, things like that. There's lots of different things that you can do with it so that you don't get sick of it, but it's still using that same protein that you just made for dinner. So it's no real extra time out of your day to prep all of it. You're already making dinner anyway. All you're doing is making a little more of it. So I find that to be the easiest way. I like to do this with ham as well. If we're having ham for dinner, I purposefully will buy a ham larger than what we actually need, and then I use that ham all throughout the rest of the week for either lunches or dinners, or any combination of that for my family. So it's a super simple way. You're already cooking. You've already got all the ingredients out. You're already dirtying dishes. Just do more of it, and then it's a lot less time. You don't have to set aside extra time later. Casseroles are another thing that do really well with this, because they tend to reheat pretty well. A lot of you got my recipe earlier, or maybe last week, the deconstructed lasagna recipe, which is basically just like a pasta with meat sauce type recipe with cheese and things. And I like to do that one a lot. That one casserole of that is 6 servings for us at our house. And so I just make that. I'll make it for lunch, even though I'm only going to eat it. It's just me. No one else is here. So I'll make that for lunch. I'll eat my serving and then portion out the rest of it into the fridge. And then it's done. Anybody in the house can go ahead and grab a serving of that, or I will put my name on them. If I don't want anybody else eating it, if I have it measured out perfectly, somebody will get hurt if they touch my measured out food, so I will label them if it's for me. But generally for the family, I'll just portion it out and anybody can grab it throughout the week. So another strategy that might work for you is to just cook up some protein prep at the beginning of the week without any seasonings. Now, hear me out for a second. So make the protein. So let's say, for example, you get one of those, those like rectangular trays from the grocery store, like of chicken breast. They might have like 5 or 6 chicken breasts in it. Grill those up, all of them, the whole tray, grill it up or bake it, however you typically do, you prepare your chicken breast. But with minimal seasoning, just like salt, pepper, things like that, just with a little bit of seasoning. And then take it, once it's cooked, dice it up. I find to be the easiest. I personally am a fan of dicing up my chicken. And then you can portion that out for the week for all kinds of different things. So you might take that diced up chicken and use a serving of it, 2 ounces, 3 ounces, 4 ounces, depending on your protein needs, and use it, put it in chicken salad. So super easy, spring mix into a bowl, get your chicken, maybe some cheese, maybe some beans, veggies, whatever else you want in your salad, and it's done super easily. You don't really even need to add any more seasoning to that because your salad will have dressing and all the other stuff. You can use that same chicken maybe for wraps for the week, or you can use it for fajitas. You can just take it. Now you can add taco seasoning to this serving of it and throw in some peppers and onions. You've got fajitas, fajita bowl, or use a tortilla to wrap it for regular fajitas. But the idea though is to just make all of your protein at the start of the week, and then with minimal seasoning, so that way you can add more seasonings to it. We also like to do this with shredded chicken breast. I'll do that whole tray of chicken in the crock pot, and I'll cook it with just either water and maybe some minced garlic and some pepper, or chicken broth. And I'll cook it all day, and then I shred it up in the crock pot, and then we portion out the shredded chicken. And we like to do this a lot. Like, so we'll use some of it for tacos. Then maybe we'll use some of it. I'll mix it up with some sugar-free barbecue sauce, and we'll make like barbecue chicken sandwiches, or we like to put it even on a baked potato. So barbecue baked potatoes. So all these different variations that you can do with that meat that you've already prepped earlier in the week. And all it needs is reheated. It makes your days and your meals super simple. And when it comes time to actually make it, when you're tired after work or whatever. So that's another idea. Ideally, you want to be pairing up your protein with a grain, like either pasta or bread or a wrap, like a tortilla wrap, or maybe rice, and then pick a veggie. And then you also want to make sure you've got some fats in there, like nuts, seeds, avocado, nut butters. Even if you do some of your cooking with olive oil, that's your fats. Don't forget to track your olive oils or your oils that you cook in. That's a huge calorie hit if you're not tracking it, so pay attention to that one. So things like that will add fats to your meal. Then you want your veggies and a grain and your protein. So when you're kind of breaking it down, that's what you want to think about. Protein, grain, veggie, fat. And then my final suggestion for today is to just really think carefully about what you actually like. So if you're not making things that you like, then you're obviously not going to stick to it. So I'll tell you, for me personally, I do not like reheated chicken breast, like if it's the whole breast. If I reheat it in the microwave, it's like rubber or something. My brain, I can't get past it. I won't eat it. So, but instead of that, I will definitely reheat diced or shredded chicken breasts. So that's probably why a lot of my examples earlier talked about diced and shredded chicken. So especially if I can like add a sauce to it, like salsa or dressing or something, then that makes it even better for me. Excuse me. So, for me, sometimes pasta can get a little too dried out to reheat. So when I'm preparing it, I'm just accounting for the fact that excuse me, my voice is not doing well today. I'm just going to account for the fact that I'm going to be adding more sauce to it when I reheat it. So I just make sure that's, mentally, I know that's going to happen so I can track it in my, macros. So, if maybe you're in a situation where you can't reheat your food. Maybe you work somewhere without a microwave, or maybe you work like out of your vehicle, so you're on the road. So you want to think about things that are going to be best cold. So salads are great for that. That's where that like diced chicken can go on top of a salad nice and easily, or in a wrap, or sandwiches. So you can think about other things that you can eat that are best to be cold versus reheated. So the big takeaway that I want you to get from this is that I don't want you to overthink it. Keep it super simple. Start with just one meal or snacks for the whole week, or even a few days. Like, there's no right or wrong way to do this. And I think that the biggest the biggest downfall is when we overcomplicate it and it just gets too big in our head and we're like, nope, I'm out. I just can't do this. So it is really simple once you get past that idea of it being overwhelming, when you get past the idea of feeling like you need to do it all. And I think as women, we always feel like we need to do it all, but you don't. I promise you do not need to do it all. Start simple, start small. You can prep only one meal for the week, or maybe you can do only a couple of days at a time. Some people don't like food that's been kept in the fridge for too long. So there's all these different ways you can go about it based on your own tastes, your own preferences, your family situation, your lifestyle, your available time. It's really going to be different for each of us. But I think if we start small and consider all of those things, anybody could do it. Anybody can do it. So I hope that you found some useful ideas. If you've got any other suggestions or ideas, maybe things that you do that have worked really well, please go ahead and put those in the comments. I think this would be a really great discussion that we can have as a group. To just to help each other out, share any of those ideas. If you have any sites maybe where you know of some great meal prep recipes, anything like that, feel free to share all kinds of stuff down in the comments. I think everybody could benefit from that. So I hope you all have a great rest of the week, and I will see you next week.